Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. The Serengeti National Park, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, and Mount Kilimanjaro are just a few of the impressive natural attractions for which the United Republic of Tanzania is well known around the world. A very diverse country, it is composed of several ethnic, linguistic, and religious groups. To know more about the work of the Catholic Church in this African country, it is my privilege to welcome to our program Father Abraham Kaligilwa from the Diocese of Kahama in northwest Tanzania. Father, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
Father, I really would like to start our conversation with a little bit of the story of your vocation. You're from Tanzania, and how did you decide to become a priest?
I can say priesthood is the thing, it's a kind of life I liked it from my childhood. I come from a family which I can say it is not so much religious, but it's a church-going family. So I used to be an altar boy when I was young, to serve at the masses. When the priests were coming to the outstation, because my home is not in the town, it's in the village. So I used to serve mass, and from that time, so I liked to become a priest. And slowly but surely I entered the seminary for secondary education. Then I continued. I thank God that I realized what it came as a dream.
How many in your family, Father?
We are 7 children.
7 children.
3 boys, 4 girls.
And all the family is Christian?
All the family is Christian.
When did Christianity arrive to this territory in Africa?
In Tanzania, I remember in 19th century, in 1880, is when the first missionaries arrived in Tanzania, the Holy Ghost Fathers. Then later, the White Fathers, but almost in that period, at the beginning of 19th century.
Father, and what is the percentage of the population in Tanzania that are Christians, and out of that, how many are Catholic?
Yeah, well, according to the census which was conducted in year 2010, the Christian percentage in Tanzania is about 60% of the population. The 35% are Muslims, and the rest are traditionalists, those who are not baptized. Then you have a little percentage of Hindu, and the rest are the traditionalist animists. So among the 60% percentage of the Christians, 40% are Catholics. So
it is relatively large percentage of the population.
Yes.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned the census of the 2010. Before that census, the government didn't want to manage this kind of numbers in terms of saying how many people are Christians, how many Muslims. Why? Why was this avoidance to manage this kind of information?
I think that comes from the slogan of the first president, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who believed that all Tanzanians are brothers. And the first thing in his leadership, in his effort to unite the nation, so he thought, because Tanzania has a lot of ethnic groups, the question of religion, this one belongs to the region, or this one to that one, he thought that it could not be a thing to unite the nation. So the first thing, and that was very, very important, that all we are Tanzanians, all we are brothers and sisters. So I think that is the reason. So the question like, I am a Catholic, I am a Muslim, it was even removed from the system how to make census in Tanzania. Other questions like education level, gender, male and female, those were left there.
Now, Father, what we know nowadays as Tanzania, it used to be Tanganyika in the mainland, and then Zanzibar, which is the island in front of the coast. Now we call it Tanzania. So the situation in Zanzibar is quite different in terms of the percentage of Muslims and Christians.
Yes.
What is the situation there?
The situation is a bit different because in Zanzibar, in that part of Zanzibar, there are many Muslims. Actually, the Catholics or the Christians in Zanzibar are very few. So there is that tendency of claiming to be like a Muslim state. So that brings a kind of a tension between Tanzania and the mainland Tanganyika. Yeah, because you see, there the majority are Muslims. They have their own things as they claim. At times they struggle to make it a Muslim state, but the government has been strong because Tanzania, Zanzibar and Tanganyika, it is a republican union. That's why we have Tanzania. And so the government has been pushing down that thing so that we can remain as we united from 1961.
Just one country,
Country.
without this
Without the
specific
region, without
religious
the
differentiation.
Yes.
Father, I have some data here that I want to ask you about. 60% of the population, which is a pretty large number of people, 44.9 million citizens in Tanzania, 68% of this population live under the poverty line, which is for the United Nations is people living with less than $1.25 a day. Now, Tanzania and that territory is extremely rich in natural resources. Therefore, the question is why? Why such a rich land has such poverty?
I can say it is really true, very, very true that Tanzania it is rich in natural resources. We have a lot of minerals, gold, we have silver, we have tanzanite, and many, many others. But the problem of technology. As we know, Tanzania is a poor country, not so much educated, the citizens. So we don't have the technology to be able to extract the natural resources. So what we depend to other nations, the developed countries who come to invest, you see. Another thing in our side can be also corruption of some leaders, those who have taken a position to control various matters in the country. So if the system is corrupt, nothing good can be produced for the country. Another thing, maybe from those who come for the investments, maybe they come with the ambition of making a super profit, not so much for the good of the citizens. That can be also the reason. So there is a kind of bribing the political leaders. At the end of the project, you see that the country has not benefited. Just some people who are in power are the ones who are enjoying the national cake.
That is a very sad scenario that unfortunately it's quite common in different countries in Africa. Lots of natural resources, corrupted government, and foreign nations exploiting and taking advantage of this situation. Father, and Tanzania has one particular challenge, we might say, and it is the ethnic diversity.
Yes.
There are more than 125 ethnic groups
Sure.
in the territory. So, going now directly into the pastoral work of the church, what does this mean? Is this a real challenge to have so many different ethnic groups when it comes to the church work?
I can say it is not a challenge. It is not a challenge because as a country, Tanzania, we have one national language, Kiswahili. That's the good thing from our first president, Mwalimu Nyerere, who worked so much to unite the country, to make all the Tanzanians feel like brothers with one national language. So even the language for liturgical celebration, I think, throughout the country is Swahili. So there is no problem at all. But maybe a little bit of challenges as we come to other activities like doing catechisms, especially to the old persons who cannot speak well Swahili, cannot understand well. There the pastors have to learn their local
dialect or
languages.
language.
Exactly. But generally, it is not a challenge.
Father, and what is the role of the church in terms of education? Is the church heavily involved in education, like it's the case in some other countries in Africa?
Yeah, so much. The church, the Catholic Church is so much involved. It is really struggling. The church is struggling to bring up a new generation, a well-formed, well-educated generation, building schools from kindergarten level, secondary, primary schools, secondary schools, and even universities. So the church is really so much concerned with education because it is our belief, the belief of the nation and the author of the Catholic Church, that education is one which prepares a person even to be evangelized. And giving a good education is also a very, very good and basic thing to evangelize a person.
You are now studying here in Rome, but where is your diocese? Where you work in a parish?
Yeah, I am a priest of the Catholic Church in the Diocese of Kahama in Tanzania. My diocese is found in the northwest part of Tanzania. My bishop is Ludovic Minde. Before coming for these further studies, I was working in the parish, a small parish in the town. I worked there for 4 years. Then, after these 4 years, my bishop decided to send me to come for further studies here in Rome. I'm taking license in biblical theology at the Gregorian University. And I thank God this is my last year.
Father, so you haven't been back to your country in a few years now.
Yes. From the time I came, I have not been able to go back to Tanzania. So
now I got distracted with my original question. I was going to ask you, in your parish, do you have a school? Do you have a Catholic school? Were you in the parish where
in my
were
parish
working?
where I was working?
Yes.
Yes, there is a kindergarten because it was a new parish. Actually, I was the first priest who was appointed in that parish. So it is really very
new parish.
It's a very new. Actually, this is the 6th year of that parish.
And just to give us an idea, Father, how many parishioners do you have to attend? Do you have to serve?
Okay, that parish, as I've told you, is not so large because it was part of another parish. It was cut from there, created a parish. So it has about 12,000 Catholics.
12,000?
Roughly, yes.
That are attended just by one priest?
Yes, one priest. And how it used to be, and actually it is like that even now. I used to celebrate masses at the parish center, and then the parish has 8 outstations where I used to go for masses. So every Sunday I had to celebrate 2 masses at the parish and then go around at the outstations, about 2 or 3 of them, to meet the Christians and celebrate the Eucharist with them. And
all this work is done by just you. You don't have other seminarians or an assistant pastor? Or
I was alone as a priest in the parish, but I think that in our place, in our diocese, and actually in Tanzania, we have catechists who take responsibilities to teach catechism, the outstations, to prepare the faithful.
Now these are lay people?
The lay people, yes.
So they're really essential For the
very,
pastoral
very
work
important.
of the church.
Sure.
How do you form them?
We have schools for catechists. In my diocese, we have begun constructing a diocesan catechetical school. Formerly, we used to send our catechists to other dioceses which have catechetical schools. So these people, they are lay people, men and female, who have been trained for 2 or 3 years, at least to have a knowledge of how to teach Christian knowledge for the children and for the elders.
For the adults.
And for Sundays, these people, especially in the outer stations where the priest cannot go to celebrate Mass, they are the one who conduct the liturgy, Sunday liturgy without a priesthood. So it's called a liturgy, Sunday liturgy.
Father, and in this environment, are the vocations to priesthood abundant?
No, I can say it is also a challenge. It depends to the diocese. Right, my diocese is a bit poor, I can say. Only 13 seminarians, major seminarians. The challenge is we have many, actually almost all the dioceses have minor seminaries. In the minor seminaries, we have many boys who enter the minor seminaries, but after their secondary education, because they like to join the minor seminaries, maybe for education. Then when it comes to the question of entering, deciding for their life now, I have finished the secondary education, I continue with the philosophy and the theology. Many of them ran away,
yes.
quit.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the situation for of vocation with regard to major seminarians is a big challenge. It's a big challenge. But this one it has been varying depending to the diocese. Some dioceses, they are really good. They have a good number of major seminarians. Some dioceses, very poor.
But it is very important to start with very, very young with the catechism and then let them develop and live their faith.
Yeah.
So that eventually it might happen, a religious vocation. Father, what other kind of social services the church provides?
Social services, the first one is education. Education, that is very, very important. Actually, the church is very, very serious on that. And another things, health services, like dispensaries, health centers, hospitals. What the church is doing so much. And you see, what comes to the mind of the people, even those who are not Catholics, they feel that going to the Catholic schools or being treated in the Catholic hospitals or the church health centers means a lot because they are cared so well, they are treated nicely, so the people are happy.
And most of these services are provided by religious orders, by nuns,
mostly
congregations?
Mostly by the religious orders, congregations, some under the diocese, I can say. But you see, even the religious orders, they don't work alone. They find a way to work with the people of the area, under the supervision of the government. The government also provides some personnel to assist this missionary, the religious orders who work in these institutions, in the hospitals, in the schools.
Father, and going back to the aspect of education, it's very common that in African countries, a lot of the students are Muslims in the Catholic schools. Is that the case in Tanzania as well?
I used to hear that. I remember one time I heard something like that at the St. Augustine University, where it happened that at times that there were many Muslims than Catholics. But I can say that is not the case for all the schools, for all the institutions. Because I believe, like in the seminaries, there we have all Catholics. Then we have other schools, founded by Catholic Church, where the church gives priority to her sons and daughters, and then welcomes even others. So that has been varying, but I can say the situation is not so much like that. The church finds a way to encourage and even to welcome others, also is a part of evangelization, because we cannot say this is just a Catholic schools only for Catholics. It is our work also to evangelize even others, to welcome even others, because I can give my testimony that from that, some of the boys and girls have even been changed in their religion. They say, no, after studying in this school, I realized myself this is a right place for me to be and even to worship.
But that would be quite a challenge for the Muslim families.
Yeah, it's a challenge. That's why you see some of them, they don't like at all to take their children to such schools. But those who like, they are also free. They are also free. Sometimes also they agree with the decisions of their children. You are a grown-up person, you have to decide for yourself, for your life.
Father, what would you say are the main challenges of the Catholic Church in Tanzania?
Yeah, the main challenge can be economic factors like poverty. I can say we have so many dreams to be realized, but we are missing
the resources.
The resources. Yeah, that is one. Another one is a lack of personnel. You see, all these dreams, all these institutions which are being raised, have been founded, they need personnel. They need people to work there. And at the first place, it could be something very, very practical, something very, very good to have maybe a head of a Catholic school who is maybe a priest or a nun, but sometimes it's not so because we don't have them. So that also is a challenge, lack of personnel.
But even that could be solved with some financial resources. I mean, you could bring more people, hire more people.
Yes, it can affect in one way or another, because having many personnel, I mean priests or nuns, also means a lot to form them. And to form, and the formation for nuns and priests also means a lot of money. So poverty affects a lot of things, actually.
Of course.
Yes.
It creates a circle,
yes, a
circle.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Father, for the people that are watching us, that are listening to us, this conversation, what do you want them to know about your church?
It is a free decision of a person. But I can tell them that, you see, it's a good thing to be where you feel that this is the right place where God wants me to be. There is maybe such a thing, some people can be worshiping in other churches because they have been born in that system or in those families. They are not free to decide, maybe, but I welcome them to the Catholic Church.
If you can ask people for help or for support or for prayers, what would that be for?
Maybe, surely, we need the prayers of the people because, as I mentioned before, that we have many dreams to be realized, projects, which actually is not only a question of money, that with the money, with the properties, we can be in a position to do all. No, we need also the prayers of the people. They accompany us in our struggles as we try to make a world, our diocese, our country, to be more pleasing, more enjoyable, to make the people feel their life and feel their faith where they are.
Well, Father Abraham, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in another program of Where God Weeps. If you want to know more about the situation, the work of the church in Tanzania, we invited you to contact the information at the end of this program. Thank you, and God bless.